Hey everybody, it's Leslie Tagorda here, your brand astrologer and designer. And oh my gosh, I have some really exciting news to share with you. Dreams do come true. And what I've really gotten clear of on with this 2020, right? This dumpster fire in a train wreck of a year is that, when you are super clear on what you really, really want and you go after it, meaning you open your own doors to opportunities, everything is at your disposal. Of course, this is coming from somebody who has a ton of Sagittarius. So that is what we are going to be talking about today: how to expand your horizons in your business using your own Sagittarius energy. Aloha! Welcome to the Savvy Luminary, an astrology podcast for entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Leslie Tagorda, an Aquarius boss woman, a brand designer, and business astrologer. I help visionary spiritual entrepreneurs and impact makers just like you reach your highest potential and become the luminaries you are star-charted to be. So, if you've been following me on social media over the year, you've heard my ups and my downs and my this ways and that ways with my big dream of becoming a published author. So, earlier this week, so I'm actually recording this on Friday, right before this drops on Sunday, and Mercury has finally left the shadow zone. And I feel like it's like everybody's been feeling Mercury leaving the shadow zone of this last retrograde season, because all of a sudden things are on fire, things are just like moving forward. And I am so grateful to this Mercury retrograde with this extended period in Scorpio, because it's really opened up this ability for me to trust in myself. So let me tell you what happened. So if you've been following me for a while back, I think it was like October of 2019, I was selected to be part of the Diverse Wisdom Initiative, their first initiative of Hay House Publishing. And when I got the notice for applications, I was so excited because it really like planted the seed of this dream that, yeah, I could be a spiritual author, getting published by this huge publishing company that published all these spiritual books. And I was so excited. So I got invited to participate in this whole coaching session. And I got to meet amazing spiritual leaders from all over the world, spiritual leaders of color, non-binary spiritual leaders. It was just so amazing. And I went through the whole process. I wrote the proposal. I got it edited with another luminary. Thank you so much, Suzanne Bellavista, for helping me really clarify what I wanted to write about. I submitted my proposal. I was so excited. I knew that the world needed to hear more about how to use astrology in their business and their brand. And I waited to hear back from Hay House whether or not I was going to be the next Hay House published author. And wah, wah, they came back and they said, no, your platform isn't big enough. We love your idea, but, not this time. And I was heartbroken, but not terribly heartbroken, because I really adore the people, the women, the spiritual entrepreneurs who I'm interviewing one of them next week. So really stay tuned for that upcoming interview. But I digress. I was really excited that they picked the women that they did to be Hay House publishers. And I was like, not my time. But, I still, like, in my bones, I had this bubbling message that says, you need to put this information in the world now. Now. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to write these books now. I can't wait for a publisher. Even though, I was exploring my network and asking for different editors and agents and kind of exploring, and the same thing, all the doors kept on shutting on me. No, you need to build your platform. You're not going to get picked up by a publisher. You're not going to be able to find a great editor. You're not going to be able to find a great agent. All of these doors kept on closing in on me, but I didn't give up. So then one day I was chatting with some business people in my business networks, and an opportunity came to join this course called the Tiny Book Course. And I highly recommend it. We just finished. And the Tiny Book Course, they said, you can write a tiny book in 45 days, and we're going to give you all of the resources to be able to write your tiny book. And I was like, ooh, 45 days? Can I write a book? Well, heck yeah, I can totally write a book because I already have all of this content. I mean, I have been a content generating machine for like the last year with creating all of, these podcasts and social media posts, and just like over and over saying the same message about harnessing our sun, moon, and rising signs to show up as the luminous leader. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to join this course, and I am going to write not one book, but I'm going to write 2 books. And so 45 days later, I have 2 books to present. Oh my gosh, I literally am feeling just the ripple of energy just from my soul at a cellular level, like definitely from my bones as I was writing these books, and honestly, the gift of 2020 in content creation is that I'm not going out anywhere at nights. I'm not having like date nights with my husband. I'm not like going to different events. So I'm waking up really early, like anywhere between 4 or 5, and I'm getting a few hours of writing in every single day before anybody in my household wakes up. So, thank you 2020 for giving me the space to do nothing else but writing. But anyway, so I decided, going back to this process, I decided to write 2 books, right? I will share my story about these 2 different books a little bit later in the episode, but I've been crying tears of joy as I've been putting these books out into the world, because it's really showing me that I trusted my intuition to keep on going, even though doors were closing on me. I was opening my own doors by saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to take this chance. I'm going to get over my fear of, okay, well, I'm going to put this book out there. Maybe nobody buys it. Maybe lots of people buy it. I still don't know the answer to that, right? I'm doing all that I can to put this wisdom out into the world. And I trusted myself to get over the fear of failing, right? Because this is my first step. Maybe these set of books don't do well. Maybe this will just give me extra information for my next set of books. But all I know is that this is part of my divine plan, and I can't wait to share this with you. And I hope that this story really inspires you to clearly see your vision and to open your own doors of opportunity. So I know I'm already kind of like all excited with this episode. So let me like bring back into the energies so we can really talk about Sagittarius, which is so expansive. So let's collect all this energy and let's center our energies for this beautiful episode. So let this be the theme, the mantra for today's episode. I invite you to plant your feet on the ground and sit up straight. And oh my gosh, take a beautiful clearing breath. And please repeat after me. I clearly see my vision and open the doors to expand my horizons in my business. And again, I clearly see my vision and open the doors to expand my horizons in my business. All right, let's jump into Sagittarius season. Oh my goodness. So, the sun moved into Sagittarius over the weekend, and I personally am a very Sagittarian person. My moon is in Sagittarius, but Sagittarius is the ruler of the 9th house, where Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius, and my sun are conjunct. So even though, yes, I'm Aquarius, I feel like I know Sagittarius much, much more. Also, because I am a Gemini rising, Gemini and Sagittarius are polar. They live on the same polarity, so they're really interconnected. I feel that I'm I'm always operating from this place of Sagittarius. I've had people call me like a dreamer, or, I remember I had this ex-boyfriend once telling me that I would just jump off of any cliff and take any chance and go anywhere. And I was like, is that a bad thing? But, Sagittarius, the archetype of Sagittarius or the astrographics of Sagittarius is the explorer. All right. Sagittarius is a fire sign. It's a mutable sign. So as a mutable sign, right, the mutable signs, Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Virgo are all the mutable signs, right? They are in the progression of cardinal, fixed, and mutable signs. They kind of take the wisdom of everything else. And that's why they can really go with the flow, right? So if you have a lot of fixed energy and you're like getting so upset at like your friends that are mutable because they're always changing their mind, if they're changing their mind because they're able to see so many different perspectives, that they're able to synthesize all of this information to create a new reality. That is the beauty and the transition of mutable energy back into cardinal energy, right? It's so beautiful. So thinking about Sagittarius as this beautiful, mutable, ever-changing energy. And then, of course, Sagittarius is fire. Fire is creative and passionate and inspirational. So we think about the other fire signs like Aries, like me first. I'm going to be the pioneer. I'm going to get up to that top of the mountain. Or Leo that, loves leading with its heart and being courageous. And then there's Sagittarius, right, who takes that courage to the next step and jumps off the cliff, not knowing what's on the other side, just because it wants to see if its wings can spread and it can fly to the end of the horizon, right? I mean, who is with me? Who doesn't want some of that? But Sagittarius, not only is it the explorer, it's the visionary, the believer, the optimistic, the truth sayer, the lucky one, the idealistic one. And that's because the idea of the explorer part of Sagittarius is because it wants to expand its mind, right? Everything about Sagittarius from the philosophy, or if we look at traditional astrology, Sagittarius is also like the person that goes after university degrees, right? Higher education. Because way back in antiquity, if you were going to study at a higher learning level, it was often at a temple or part of some kind of religious philosophy. And that's why there's parts of Sagittarius that are really connected back to man-made spirituality, to morals, to higher learning, a little bit of kind of like the law as it pertains to philosophy, or the law as it pertains to how one is going to live by the golden rule or any other kind of dogma, right? So we see Sagittarius in this idealistic, philosophical, mind-expanding light. In a more modern and contemporary variation of Sagittarius, this is really, to me, when we think about like society and how it's evolving and how we're bringing in more social justice and equity, Sagittarius at its highest expression is diversity. Right? Sagittarius is your friend who loves to try all kinds of, wild eating experiences. They are the first to try any kind of dish because they want to taste everything, right? They're the first to like mash together different cuisines like Filipino tacos or Korean tacos or Korean sushi, like all of these things, because Sagittarius is out exploring, whether it's food or ideas or philosophies or studies. And it's bringing together all of these disparate ideas and mushing it all together, molding it all together, and creating something of their own. I mean, I can relate. Obviously, I am very Sagittarian because for my entire life, I've always been collecting all these different pieces from all these different, my different families, my different traditions, and bringing it in and creating my own. When we think of Sagittarius in our business, because it also rules the ninth house, we're thinking about expanding our horizons, right? How can you expand the horizons in your business, whether it is, reaching a bigger audience through public relations, that's a Sagittarian ideal, or through publications, coming back to the book idea, or public speaking, all of these things where you're reaching a wider international audience, and most likely online, the World Wide Web, right? Very Sagittarius as well. This is about really then putting your big dreams together and expanding it out into the world. But one of the things that hold us back from expanding our horizons is having the vision, having the seed of the dream that you want to bring forth. And so often I meet some entrepreneurs who don't know what their vision is, don't know what their big dream is, right? Because they're not really looking yet inwards to really find that dream. And so I want to ask you, do you know what your big dream is, what your big vision is, so that you can expand on all of that going forward as soon as we get out of 2020? The key to really unlocking your Sagittarius energy may seem simple, but it's really just profound, and that is gratitude, right? There's this idea that Sagittarius is so hopeful and optimistic. But, when we think about the ruler Jupiter, Jupiter is kind of like a magnifying glass, right? Whatever Jupiter touches, it expands. So if you have a lot of fear, if you're moving from this place of despair and fear and hopelessness, Jupiter is just going to expand that, right? But the one key to break out of hopelessness is gratefulness, right? Is optimism. And it's being able to work on your gratitude to see even the gifts in painful experiences, or seeing the gifts when a certain door closes. With my story earlier, when I didn't get selected by Hay House to get a publishing contract, of course I was hurt. I'm not dismissing that. I processed the hurt. I understood the hurt, but I also looked underneath to see what this experience meant and for what I could be grateful for. That experience of being part of the Diverse Wisdom Initiative was amazing because, like I mentioned many times, I met so many other powerful spiritual leaders that I have become friends with, like more than friends with, like soul sisters with, right? And so I'm so grateful for that. Also, because that one door closed, it made me open another door. I was not pushed, not forced, but I was called to create a new path for myself, a path that felt more freedom and more expansive, because now I was able to get these books into the world at a much quicker pace than if I were to have gone down the traditional publishing route. So, oh my gosh, I am so grateful. So when we want to unlock our Sagittarius energies, get really curious about what can you be grateful for, because no matter what the experience is, trust that there is a gift there that you too can feel grateful for, even if in that particular moment it seems hopeless. I want to touch a little bit on the high vibrations and the low vibrations of Sagittarius as well, because I've been talking about all of these big visions and big abundance and gratitude and generosity, and those of course are the highest elevations of Sagittarius. And thinking about Sagittarian hopes and desires, they live in that place. But on the opposite end of that, we have some pretty difficult energies that when Sagittarius is not vibrating on its high highest, frequency that we can really get stuck in. So you probably have heard, if you've been following any other astrologers, not me, right, who talk about fear mongering and talk about all of the different bad qualities of different signs. One of the jokes about Sagittarius is that they're always putting their foot in their mouth, right? Because Sagittarius, if they're not listening and if they're not open-hearted and open-minded, they can be super blunt. They can be like really closed-minded. They can be super judgmental. And it's the opposite end of the spectrum from this place of diversity and inclusion to this place of prejudice, right? So I want you to be kind of careful and kind of just, not dwell there, but pay attention to see what end of the spectrum you are vibrating your Sagittarius energies. So let's get into the Sagittarius energies in your chart. Because yes, even if you don't have any planets in Sagittarius, you have Sagittarius as a ruler of one of your houses. So let's first go by the planets. So, the planets have different energies in your business, and we've talked a little bit about this before. But I want you to see if you have any Sagittarius planets in your chart, or maybe one of your angles, like your rising sign. Because, whatever energy you have in Sagittarius, you are then bringing that energy through with inspiration and a vision that expands horizons for all. So not just yourself, but the people that you serve. So of course, if you have a Sagittarius rising like Oprah, she's like one of my favorite Sagittarius risings because everybody knows her, right? She's an inspirational leader, like hello. So if you also have Sagittarius rising, you lead and guide with freedom and inspiration. If you're a powerful Sun Sagittarius, and so I know that there is a few of you in the Savvy Luminary. I'm thinking of you, Monique, right, with your beautiful Sagittarius Sun. You create and radiate with inspiration and optimism and joy. Now, if you have a Sagittarius moon, like me, right, you need to feel the freedom and expansiveness of an inspiration, right? With you want to be recognized. You feel success from this element of expansive, visionary freedom. If you have a Mercury in Sagittarius, you think and express yourself with inspiration and all of those big dreams, right? So your language is vast. If you have Venus in Sagittarius, right, you attract and connect and value things that are Sagittarian based. So I bet you love freedom life and traveling and exploring, and you love connecting with others who value those things as well. If you have Mars in Sagittarius, oh my goodness, anything that has to do with freedom and expanding your horizons, you are there and you get motivated and are energized by these ideals. If Jupiter is in its home sign of Sagittarius, oh my gosh, you just have this unending capacity to expand and to believe in the highest ideals and visions. Now, if you have Saturn in Sagittarius, this is kind of a little bit of a paradox because Saturn is the energy that contracts, right? The energy of discipline and the energy of sustainability, right? And so when you think about Saturn in Sagittarius, it's you're building and structuring things in this vast way, in this inspirational way, in this way that just really allows one to expand their mind. If you have Uranus in Sagittarius, right? So some of our younger listeners here, these are kind of the Gen Z energies. If you have Uranus in Sagittarius, Uranus is the ability to break through, to innovate, and to individuate, right? And your ability to do that, of course, is with big dreams, big visions, and of course, a dose of optimistic inspiration. And if you have Neptune in Sagittarius, Neptune loves being in Sagittarius because Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, Jupiter also is one of the co-rulers of Pisces. So there's this even more flow. And it's like a double dose and like expansive, like high octane inspiration and spirituality. Oh, it just gives me so much chills. And then, if you are another young listener with Pluto in Sagittarius, oh my goodness, your ability to distill and transform is really exponentially powerful when you use gratitude, when you use inspiration, and when you use social justice. I'm pulling in the social justice because it just feels so important to be able to, bring in the diversity, equity, and inclusion that Sagittarius so loves. So if you don't have a planet in Sagittarius, no worries. Let's look to your cusps. So remember, your chart is divided into 12 houses, and the doorway to each of those houses is called the cusp. And whatever sign you have on that cusp is the ruler of that house. So wherever you have Sagittarius in your chart by house, by that cusp line, is where in your business you are meant to be a visionary and to expand your horizons, right? To bring in all of those Sagittarian ideals of being grateful, being optimistic, having a big vision, welcoming in many perspectives, and inspiring yourself and others, okay? So if you're a Sagittarius rising and you have Sagittarius as the ruler of your first house, you are meant to lead and guide with your big vision and inspiration. Now, if you have Sagittarius on your second house cusp, you have the ability to create value and financial freedom with vast resources using your Sagittarius energy. If you have Sagittarius on your third house cusp of communications, you're meant to promote and create marketing communications that inspire and invoke optimism. If you have Sagittarius on your fourth house cusp, also known as your IC, the root of your chart, the foundation of your chart, this is where you create your emotional security. And with Sagittarius ideals, you're creating this emotional security by creating belonging with open, safe spaces that enable emotional freedom. If you have Sagittarius on the fifth house cusp, you are here to celebrate and create with expansive vision. I can see you creating beautiful rituals and performance-based art that really honor and give gratitude. If you have Sagittarius on your sixth house cusp, you are here to serve and practice with greater truth and freedom. This could also be having a daily routine that promotes freedom or a health that allows you to have mobility. If you have Sagittarius on the seventh house cusp, you are here to connect and relate with visionary seekers, and you are here to inspire them. If you have Sagittarius on the eighth house cusp, oh my gosh, you have the powerful ability to trust and transform and heal with freedom, expansiveness, gratitude. If you have Sagittarius on the ninth house cusp, you are here to expand and believe all the possibilities. Oh my gosh, like sharing your big vision with the entire world. Like we're talking about cosmopolitan here, just sharing it with all the corners of the world. If you have Sagittarius in the 10th house cusp, you are here to deliver and promise with Sagittarian ideals of hope, justice, and inspiration. If you have Sagittarius on the 11th house cusp, you're here to create impact and humanitarian change with diversity, inclusion, and your philosophical ideals. If you have Sagittarius on the 12th house cusp, such an inspirational place to create reformation, to create freedom, and to surrender with truth, hope, and optimism. So let's put this all together, because as you're thinking about 2021 and you're creating your vision to expand your business, where does your business want to grow? Where do you need to dream up those big dreams? So look to Sagittarius in your chart. Which house does Sagittarius rule? This tells you where in your business you're meant to go big and expand your horizons. Look to the planets that you have Sagittarius, because that shows you the types of energy where you need to bring in more gratitude, more inspiration. And of course, look to which house Jupiter is in and the sign of Jupiter, right? Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. So in which house is placed is going to give you more information onto where to direct your expansive energy. So let me give you an example. So I have Sagittarius on my 7th house cusp. I also have Sagittarius moon and Sagittarius Neptune both in my 6th house. And the ruler of Sagittarius, Jupiter, is in the 9th house and right conjunct my Aquarius sun. So you can see I have a ton of this expansive energy, this dreamy, visionary energy. So first of all, 7th house. Sagittarius rules my 7th house. I know that I need to really expand all of my possibilities when working with co-collaborators and co-creators, and I'm supposed to connect with them through inspiration. When I look at my moon and Neptune in Sagittarius, this is going to inform me about how I want to feel when I am driving my business. What does success mean to me? What does recognition mean to me? And freedom and expansiveness are very, very, very important to me. Now, it happens in the 6th house also for me, with my moon and Neptune in Sagittarius in the 6th house. So I know that I need to feel free, and I want to be recognized as somebody that really serves many, many people, that I can elevate my service to others with spirituality and connection to divine with my Neptune. I know that sounds way out there. I can't help it. That's my Sagittarius self. And then I know that my Jupiter, that is going to direct my 7th house, inspiring my clients, right? My Jupiter is in the 9th house. And earlier I was talking about the 9th house of, it represents publishing, it represents the World Wide Web, it represents being online, it represents serving an international community, right? My Jupiter and my Sun are conjunct in Aquarius. So this is not only where I'm supposed to direct my work, but it's really like what I'm supposed to be creating. So I'm kind of living finally my aligned life by bringing books into the world, by casting my message as far as it can go. And while I haven't reached all of my dreams yet, I hope that this continues to ripple out, because I feel that I've only just begun my journey as a really late bloomer. I want to show you and inspire you that it's never too late to really figure out who you are and put yourself out there in the world. I hope you got enough of Sagittarius energy and have a really good feel for how you are supposed to expand and to vision your dreams. And because we are headed into 2021, I want to tell you about these tools that I've created for you, right? Because I know that 2020 has been a hard year for a lot of us, right? Our limits have been tested and our desires have shifted, right? And there's been a whole bunch of us that have been really, really working hard at discovering our spiritual truths. And I feel that we are in this time of blossoming. And I believe that you too, if you are a listener of this podcast, are on that same path. So, as we are looking forward to 2021, I'm willing to bet that you would love a little bit more insight, that you would love a little bit more guidance on how to tap into your star powers and how to really work with the collective energies instead of against it. And you got it. I have some tools for you. So, I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this episode that I've created two books. The first book is New Moon Rituals for Entrepreneurs so that you can design your success with the power of the new moon. I've I've put together all of the new moons for 2021, looking at all of the house activations and included all kinds of prompts so that you can set your intentions through rituals to grow and design your business. Oh my gosh, new moons are how I got really started in astrology, using it in my business. And my practice of new moons that I started doing new moon rituals about 8 years ago have really drastically changed my life. And I can't believe all what I have designed in such a short amount of time. I wish I had really learned how to use new moon sooner. But so that one book is available, New Moon Rituals for Entrepreneurs, the 2021 version, going again through all of the new moons of 2021 and how you can customize your ritual to really set your intentions and design your success. Then I have a more evergreen book. It's called Star Powered Brand, and it takes you through how to create your one of a kind, unique brand using your three core energies, your foundational energies of your sun, moon, and your rising sign. Oh my gosh, you've heard about me talk about it on this podcast in the Savvy Luminary. Now I'm going to give you the tips and the tools to really pull those things through and get super clear and confident on the luminous leader you were born to be. I think it is a great guidebook for all entrepreneurs, or even if you just have a personal brand, like you might be climbing the corporate ladder and, getting more involved in your career. This is still a wonderful tool that will show you how to stand out. Lastly, I've been spending hours and hours going through all of the cosmic shifts of 2021. Thankfully, it is not as crazy as 2020 was, but there's still a few core energies that we really need to be aware of and harness in our businesses so that we can plan and use the energies instead of working against it. So I'm calling this the Business Starcast. And oh my gosh, I've really expanded it. So not only are you going to get all 12 months in a PDF so you can print out and look at your calendar, I'm putting the entire report into an ICS. So that's a little calendar link that you can import into any of your digital calendars. So you can take the entire calendar and all of the meaning with you no matter where you go. The report's going to come with kind of an overview of the entire year, how to really use and understand all of the cosmic shifts that are happening, and a few tips for how to personalize it in your particular chart. Because again, this Business Starcast is the collective energy that is available to all of us. And these energies sit on top of our personal cosmic cycles in a little bit of a different way. But I'm going to give you more insight as to how to customize that a little bit. So I'm super excited to offer all of these three things. If you want it together in a bundle, which I'm calling the Power Pack, I am offering that online too. So you can find out more information if you go to my website, thesavvyluminary.com/2021. So 2021. thesavvyluminary.com/2021 to get your 2021 in the Stars Power Pack. It's really been a dream come true for me to create these tools and to share the wisdom of the stars with you in your business. Okie dokie. So let's get to the astrology of the week of Sunday, November 22nd to Sunday, November 28th. If you're in the United States, you'll be practicing gratitude with our kind of funny little holiday of Thanksgiving. I really invite you to put your own spin on it, to not only give thanks for your family and your loved ones, but to also really honor the land on which you now occupy. I urge you to get curious with discovering the native land on which you now occupy. So I live in San Francisco, and this is currently the occupied land of the Ohlone Ramaytush, and they have beautiful traditions and beautiful things that I'm just now beginning to learn about and to honor. Curious to know what you think about that. So we have a really quiet week, thankfully, because, the last few weeks have been pretty intense, and we are building up to another intense December. So, use this time for reflection, use this time to give thanks, especially since we're in Sagittarius season. And it's really, if Scorpio season was about us really fine-tuning and getting in touch with our intuitive powers, Sagittarius season is not just about our visioning powers, but it's really about our powers to give thanks for everything. The power of gratitude is so big. It just opens up your mind, your heart, and your soul, and it's like the first key into manifesting the life that you want. But we have on the 27th, we have Venus opposite Uranus in the sky. So Venus in Scorpio, right? So now we're connecting through our intuition. We're really valuing all things, sexy and taboo and transformative. And Venus is going to be opposite in Uranus in Taurus on the 27th. And so that day, expect the unexpected, right? In your love life, in your money life. I'm curious to see what comes through when Venus and Uranus dance in the sky, tugging at each other. Maybe you'll get a windfall of some love or money. Who couldn't use more of that? And then on the 28th, Neptune moves direct. Neptune and these other outer planets like Pluto and Uranus, they spend like half of the year in retrograde. And so the direction that moving direct or retrograde is so much more subtle. It doesn't really affect us on a personal level. So I just want you to do a little bit of reflection. Neptune loves reflection. Neptune loves connection to source and the divine. So see what comes through for you. If you can spend some time getting quiet and reflecting on Saturday, the 28th, as Neptune goes direct. See what imagination and dreams come true. Because this is really all building for our full moon that happens in the following week. Next episode, I'll talk about the full moon, our lunar eclipse in Gemini, and then, oh my gosh, then we're going to have a wild ride until the end of the year. So, if you want to work more with me and get your star powers, please head on over to thesavvyluminary.com/2021 and get your insight, all the tools that you need to plan your 2021 with your star powers. All right, well, that's all I have for today. Much love and abundance to you. Mahalo for listening to this brand new podcast. If you enjoyed learning about astrology for entrepreneurs, help me spread the word by sharing this podcast with your business besties, and hop over to the Savvy Luminary for links to episode notes and our free Facebook community where you can send me questions about astrology or branding, as well as connect with other like-minded businesses.